Super Rugby round number 15, folks. We have just 1 week to go. Some of the playoff spots have been locked in. We'll go through them after this week's results, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this round went. We start off with the Crusaders and the Chiefs, and this is your game of the week. This is your game of the week. The Chiefs were in the lead in this game for about 65 minutes. But the Crusaders at home in that new stadium get another win. I think it's a pretty deserved one. They scored more tries than the Chiefs. The Chiefs' goal kicking from Jacob tried to keep them in the lead, but it was to no avail as the Crusaders had a nice comeback to keep the home fans happy. David Havili, who cops quite a fair bit of stick from, I guess, non-Crusaders fans and some Crusaders fans, a pretty good game. He kicked not a 50, well, it's a 50-22, but it was like a 22-22. One of the best kicks you will see. Like, if you want a highlight of a game, a flipping kick. It was a hell of a kick. And he scored a try, the final try, to really secure the win for the Crusaders. They had other tries to Whanganuku. Jamie Hanna got one out on the wing, which was a big lumbering block out on the wing, which is, again, worthy of a highlight itself. Leo Willie, a couple to Johnny McNichol from the bench, including one on turnover ball, which was really slick from the Crusaders. And as I said, Havili got one at the death for the Chiefs. Taumui Falau scored a really nice one. Showed a bit of power for not that big a guy to beat a couple of Crusaders defenders as he went over the line. Taukei'aho got another one from a maul. Josh Lord got one. Tupaia got one from a nice set play. And as I said, a couple of penalties from Josh Jacob. But I feel like the Chiefs did make a few too many errors. Like the Jacob knock on towards the end of the game kind of gave the Crusaders a bit of an opportunity to take the game away from them. But as I said, the Crusaders, I think, are still pretty deserved winners. Like line breaks is 11-5. Defenders beaten from guys like Lester Whanganuku, he had 5. Havili had 4. Yeah, some just real standout performers. So that Chiefs loss just left the door open for the Hurricanes to secure a top spot if they won their game against the Highlanders, which they did. So it's going to be second for the Chiefs on the table. And the Crusaders still have a chance to chase down the Blues for that third spot and thus a home playoff match in the first round of the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see what kind of side the Hurricanes send down to Christchurch next week because they've already secured top spot. They can send a B team. So kind of good news for the Crusaders all round with that game. Yeah, return of Will Jordan, Che Fihaki and whatnot. Yeah, it was a pretty good week for them. Second of the Friday games, the Waratahs, I think they're pretty much done. I mean, I know they can catch the Reds on points, but they've won fewer games than the Reds. I think the Reds are clear, aren't they? I don't know, but I think the Waratahs are buggered either way because the Reds will pick up a point next week. I am assuming 14 points to 21. I did watch this game, I didn't review on it, but I feel like the Waratahs will be pretty disappointed. Boy, did they miss so many chances. I mean, you got to give credit to the Brumbies. Got your gear on, you won 9 turnovers to 3. I think that's the winning and the losing of the game. You took your opportunities down the Waratahs' end. But I mean, territory 63-37 Tars. Position 58-42 Tars. 22 entries. 15-6. 15, and the Waratahs walk away with 2 tries. 6. And the Brumbies walk away with 3. That's a 50% conversion rate to compare to whatever the heck that is for the Tars. They will be disappointed. They did not take their chances. Pollard, Neville, and Ala Alatoa getting it done for the Brumbies. They were up 21-0. The Waratahs did have a bit of a comeback. Kailea and Jorgensen getting their 2 tries. But it was kind of too little too late. I remember when it was 21-0, I decided I was going to go to bed. I just put the game on my phone, and then the Waratahs comeback started. But yeah, as I said, it was a bit too little too late. Lockie Shaw, 20 tackles from him, and a good defensive shift from the Brumbies. The Brumbies are still not looking as sharp as they did at the start of the season. Like, to be put under the pump and kind of get away with a 7-point win, like, it's a good result away from home and secures their playoff spot, but it's not emphatic. I still feel like they're missing Charlie Cale. But they're in the playoffs, so we'll see what happens with them. Blues were on the bye, thank goodness for that, because we've been playing some awful rugby in the last couple of weeks. And then Moana. Moana Pasifika against the Reds. They had the winning of this game, Moana. If they'd won this game, the final week of the playoffs would have been a very interesting one for the likes of the Force, for the Waratahs and the Reds themselves. But I think the Reds have pretty much done it with this win. Last few minutes, they managed to get a try through Jock Campbell and the conversion from Ben Volavola to, I think, pretty much secure that spot, unless I'm missing something. But, yeah, they needed that. They got through this with the skin of their teeth. Pulu opened the scoring from Moana. First minute try, great start. But then the Reds did what you expect teams to do against Moana Pasifika. Tim Ryan got a great one. From their own half, the Reds, that one's highlight worthy. He ends up getting 2 in this match. Canham gets 1. Pritchard gets 1. It's a ripper of a pass. So the Reds went from being 7-0 down to 26-7 up. And I'm thinking this game's done and dusted. Moana's not coming back from there, but geez, they gave it a good crack. Tupo Tailoa got 1. They got a penalty try from a collapsed maul, and during the yellow card, Leota got 1. The gas on that man. And then Pellegrini on 75 minutes made it 31-26 with just a few minutes to play. Reds need a converted try. They got it through Jock Campbell. It's a pretty well-worked try. I do feel like this game will be a little bit, like if you watch the highlights of this one, every Super Rugby highlights package you watch, you'll see some joker saying, defense is optional, like no matter how good the tackling stats were. This one, the defensive stats are not great. 28 missed tackles by Moana and 25 by the Reds. There's a few too many missed tackles. Some of it's some good attack and play. But yeah, there were a few tries which maybe otherwise could have been prevented with a bit better defense. But the Reds had 9 line breaks to 5. Their line out's still a bit shaky, but yeah, they got through it. And I think that's pretty much going to be good enough for them. They do have the Drua in the final round at home, and you can't see the Reds not picking up at least a point. But as I said, I'm pretty sure the tiebreaker in Super Rugby is wins. And they've got 2 more wins than the Waratahs, so I don't think the Waratahs can catch them, even if the Waratahs get a bonus point win in their game. So yeah, see how high up the table the Reds can get. But yeah, they absolutely needed that last minute try, and they got it. Then the Hurricanes against the Highlanders. As I said, Hurricanes with a chance to go top confirmed, and they did it. Secured top spot, 45 points to 28. They led for basically 80 minutes. The Highlanders, sadly, were basically not in this game. Like, they scored 28 points, which is more than a lot of teams can do against the Hurricanes, but a red card didn't help to Dan Leonard-Brown. Kind of head-on-head action. But goodness me, Morby, Karefi, Naholo got 2. Ruben Love, Yosei, Inari, all these guys running in tries. It's all the bloody backs. I mean, Karefi and Yosei, these guys are forwards, but they play like backs. Like Karefi putting the hammer down for his try over in the corner. Goodness gracious me. Ratu Watamuki-Neepkins got 1. Tapatavanawai, Lennox and Casey for the Landers. But yeah, it's just such a lopsided game. Hurricanes beat the predictions, I would imagine. And what was the predicted margin? Yeah, it's a big old win, isn't it? 13 line breaks to 3. Heaps of defenders beaten. Morby had 8. Yosei had 6. Yeah, the Landers season is done because they're on the bye for the final round. And that's despite the fact that the Hurricanes had 12 penalties conceded to 7, 2 yellow cards to 1. But no, they still mopped the floor with them. It's a bonus point. When was it? 7 tries to 4? Top spot secured for the Hurricanes. As said, maybe they rest their team next week. Don't know. My Blues could use them to take a top team down to the Crusaders and beat the Crusaders away, thus giving the Blues 3rd spot. But we'll see. They've rotated a little bit. Like, no feeling an awful in this game. A few other guys rested, so yeah, we'll see. Jordy Barrett was a late withdrawal, which buggered a lot of people's fantasy teams, I think. Then the Force against the Drua. They said the Force needed a bonus point win in this game, so there must be a way for the Force to have gotten back into this, because they're on 26 points after this win. So they mathematically cannot make the playoffs now. They did not get enough points out of this game. I only watched the highlights for this one, but 19 points to 15. They were behind at halftime, the Force. They were down, 12-7. Salawa and Togitama got the tries for the Drua in the first, but they could only imagine a penalty in the second. Tizano got 1 in the first, then Ikuasi and Lomax getting the tries for the Force in the second. Another week where there's a bit of a forward pass. We saw the Hurricanes do it against the Blues a week before. The pass out to Lomax was just forward, isn't it? Like, I'm always the guy to defend lateral flat passes if they drift a little bit forward, because the physics of the game means that's why the backwards out of the hand law is there. But sometimes it's just forwards out of the hand. Anyway, Williams got a try denied towards the death as well for a knock-on in the build-up, but the amount of turnovers won in this game was nuts. 14 by the Drua, 8 by the Force. That's more than most games combined. Like just the Drua alone. So Nick Champion to Crib need 28 tackles. But yeah, it's a shame for the Force. I would love to see them be in the playoff race. They've had a good wee final crack at it, keeping themselves alive as long as they could. But yeah, maybe it's a lack of bonus points that have cost them at the end. But still 1 week to go. And they've kind of ended their season with a bit of a flurry. The table is the Hurricanes on 56, clear 10 points at the top with a round to go. Chiefs on 46, and then the Blues on 38. So the Hurricanes and Chiefs are locked in. They can't change no matter what happens next week. The Blues are on 38, and the Crusaders are on 36. So the Crusaders can pass the Blues, depending on what happens there. The Brumbies are on 33, and the Reds on 32. The Waratahs are on 27. So 5 points behind. But as I said, I don't think their win count can overcome the Reds. So unless someone knows the tiebreaker rules better than me, that seems like your top 6 is locked in. It's just the order that might change between 6 and 3. The Force on 26, the Highlanders on 24, Drua on 21. And Moana did pick up their first point since round 1 with that losing bonus point against the Reds. They are now on 5. Final round is the Crusaders hosting the Hurricanes. Like I said, Crusaders have definitely got something to play for. The Hurricanes do not, other than to keep up form and match fitness. The Reds will take on the Drua. The Reds just need a point, I think, to be mathematically clear of the actual 5-point difference between them and the Tars. They could use a bit of form to be found, though. Brumbies against Moana. Brumbies will take some points there, one would imagine, to try and push themselves potentially above the Crusaders if the Crusaders lose. And then the Chiefs taking on the Blues. That's a big one for my Blues down in Hamilton. If they beat the Chiefs, then they can secure 3rd spot no matter what happens with the Crusaders game. Again, Chiefs might rest their players because they don't have anything to play for. They can't catch the Hurricanes. But there's also an argument about wanting to keep the guys match fit and in form. And the Force take on the Waratahs in the final game. The boys out west always want to beat the Tars. Everyone wants to beat the Tars, so there's still something to play for there. But you guys let us know your thoughts on the matches that were. Hurricanes still looking like the team to beat. You guys take care, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.